bhutale swayam rupa kadamayam dadati swapadantikam vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam that one, sorry. Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinapando Jagapite Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishapanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Manchakalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nivasesha Sunyavari Paschcha Deshatarane. Begin the Isopnisad. We're having a very jam-packed programs these days, back to back. Okay. Invocation. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete, and because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because he is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance. Mantra 1. Ishavashamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena chaktena bhunjita magridha kashyasvidhanam. Someone else like to read? Take turns. The English.
Everything animate and inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong.
Nice. 2. Kurvane vaha karmani jiva shechatam samaha evam tvai nanyate tosti na karma lipyate nare.
One may aspire. Okay, go ahead. One may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way, for that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There is no alternative to this way of way for man.
3. Asurya nama te loka andena tamasavrita tamste precha bigajanti yeke chatmahano jana.
The killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance.
Mantra 4. Ahane jare kam manaso javiyo naina deva apnuvam purvam arshat tadavato nyanachite titistat tasminapo matarishva dadati.
Although fixed in his abode, the personality of Godhead is swifter than the mind and can overcome all others running. The powerful demigods cannot approach him. Although in one place he controls those who supply the air and rain, He surpasses all in excellence.
Mantra 5. Tadejati tad naijati tad dure tad vantike tad antarasya sarvasya tadu sarvasya shabhayataha.
The Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He is far away, but he is very near as well. He is within everything, and yet he is outside of everything.
Yastu sarvani bhutani atmani vanupashyati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tato navijagupsate.
He who sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, who sees all living entities as his parts and parcels, and who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being.
Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiva bhutvijanataha tatra ko mohaka shuka ekatvam manupashyataha.
One who always sees all living entities as spiritual sparks in quality one with the Lord, become a true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety for him?
Saparya jachukram makayam avrinam ashnaviram shuram apapavidam kavir manishi paribu swayambhur yata chatutoridan vyadadach chaspatibhya samabhyaha.
Such a person must actually know the greatest of all, the personality of Godhead, who is embodied, omniscient, beyond reproach, without veins, pure and uncontaminated, the self-sufficient philosopher who has been fulfilling everyone's desire since time immemorial.
Mantra 9. Andham tama pravishanti ye vidyam upasate tato bhuyaiva te tamo ya uvidyayam rataha.
Those who engage in the current activities shall enter into the darkest region of ignorance. Worse still are those engaged in the culture of so-called knowledge.
Anyadevahur vidyaya, anyadahur avidyaya, iti shushumadhiranam yenastadvi chachakshire.
The wise have explained that one result is derived from the culture of knowledge and that a different result is obtained from the culture of nescience.
Vidyam cha yas tadvido bhayam saha avidyayam rityum tirtva vidyayam ritam ashnute.
Only one who can learn the process of nescience and that of transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the full blessings of immortality.
Andam tama pravishanti ye sambhutim upasate tato bhuyevate tamo yau sambhutram rataha. Those who are engaged in the worship of demigods enter into the darkest region of ignorance, and still more so do the worshippers of the impersonal absolute. Mantra 13. Anyad evahu sambhavad, anyadahura sambhavat, iti shushumadhiranam yena stadvi chachakshire.
It is said that one result is obtained by worshipping the supreme causes of all causes, and that another result is obtained by worshipping that what is not supreme. All this is heard from the undisturbed authorities, who clearly explained it.
14. Sambhutim cha vinasham cha yastadvido bhayam saha vinashena mrityum tirtva sambhutya mritam ashnute.
One should know perfectly the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna and his transcendental name, form, qualities, and pastimes, as well as the temporary material creation with its temporary demigods, men, and animals. When one knows these, he surpasses death and the ephemeral cosmic manifestation with it, and in the eternal kingdom of God he enjoys his eternal life of bliss and knowledge.
It's like Janma Karma Chini Divyam. Mantra 15. Ranmayena Patrena Satyasham Pihitam Mukam Tatvam Pushana Parinu Satya Dharmaya Drishtaye.
O my Lord, sustainer of all that lives, your real face is covered by your dazzling effulgence. Kindly remove that covering and exhibit yourself to your pure devotee.
16. Pushani Karshayama Surya Prajapatya Vyuha Rasmin Samuha Tejo Yate Rupam Kalyanautamam Tate Pashamiyo Savaso Purusha Soham Asmi.
O
O
my
my
Lord,
Lord, O primeval philosopher, maintainer of the universe, O regulating principle, desolation of the pure devotees, well-wisher of the progenitors of mankind, please remove the effulgence of your transcendental rays so that I can see your form of bliss. You are the eternal supreme personality of Godhead, like unto the sun, as am I.
17. Vairanilam Amritam Matedam Bhasmantam Sariram Om Krato Smara Kritam Smara Krato Smara Kritam Smara.
Let this temporary body be burned to ashes. Let the air of life be merged with the totality of air. Now, O my Lord, please remember all my sacrifices, and because you are the ultimate beneficiary, please remember all that I've done for you.
18. Agni Naya Supatare Yasman Vishwani Deva Vayunani Vidvan Yodhyasmaj Juhurana Meno Bhuyishtam Te Nama Uktim Videma. Excuse me.
O my Lord, as powerful as fire, O omnipotent one, now I offer you all obeisances falling on the ground at your feet. O my Lord, please lead me on the right path to reach you. And since you know all that I have done in the past, please free me from the reactions to my past sins so that there will be no hindrance to my progress.
Today, we are on Mantra 4. I don't know if you want to put it on the screen or people have their books. Mantra 4. Anijadekam manaso javio naina deva apnuvan purvam arshat tadhavatonyanachite tistat tasminapo matarishva dadati. Word for word. Anijat, fixed. Ekam, one. Manasaha, then the mind. Javya, more swift.
More swift.
Na,
Not.
Enat, this Supreme Lord. Deva, the demigods like Indra, etc.
The demigods like Indra, etc.
Apnuvan, can approach. Purvam, in front. Arshat, moving quickly. Tat, he. Davataha, those who are running. Anyan, others. Atyeti, surpasses. Tishtat, remaining in one place. Tasmin, in him. Apaha, rain.
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 Matareshva,
Matareshwar.
the gods who control the wind and rain.
Gods
Who control the wind and rain.
Supply, Dadati,
Dadati.
supply.
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 Translation. Although fixed in his abode, the personality of Godhead is swifter than the mind and can overcome all others running. The powerful demigods cannot approach him, although in one place he controls those who supply the air and rain. He surpasses all in excellence. Purport. Through mental speculation, even the greatest philosopher cannot know the Supreme Lord, who is the absolute personality of Godhead. He can be known only by his devotees through his mercy. In the Brahma Samhita 534, it is stated that even if a non-devotee philosopher travels through space at the speed of the wind or mind for hundreds of millions of years, he will still find that the absolute truth is far, far away from him. The Brahma Samhita 537 further describes that the absolute personality of Godhead has his transcendental abode, known as Goloka, where he remains and engages in his pastimes. Yet, by his inconceivable potencies, he can simultaneously reach every part of his creative energy. In the Vishnu Purana, his potencies are compared to the heat and light that emanate from a fire. Although situated in one place, a fire can distribute its light and heat for some distance. Similarly, the absolute personality of Godhead, although fixed in his transcendental abode, can diffuse his different energies everywhere. Someone else like to read?
Although his energies are innumerable, they can be divided into three principal categories: the internal potency, the marginal potency, and the external potency. There are hundreds and millions of subheadings to each of these categories. The dominating demigods who are empowered to control and administer such natural phenomena as air, light, and rain are all classified within the marginal potency of the absolute person. Lesser living beings, including humans.
You're breaking up.
Sorry, Mataji, give me 1 second. Lesser living beings, including humans, also belong to the Lord's marginal potency. The material world is the creation of the Lord's external potency, and the spiritual sky, where the kingdom of God is situated, is the manifestation of his internal potency.
Someone else?
Thus, the different energies of the Lord are present everywhere. Although the Lord and the energies are non-different, one should not mistake these energies for the supreme truth, nor should one wrongly consider that the Supreme Lord is distributed everywhere impersonally, or that he loses his personal existence. Men are accustomed to reaching conclusions according to their capacity for understanding, but the Supreme Lord is not subject to our limited capacity for understanding. It is for this reason that the Upanishads warn us that no one can approach the Lord by his own limited potency.
In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that not even the great rishis and suras can know him. And what to speak of the asuras, for whom there is no question of understanding the ways of the Lord. This fourth mantra of Isopnisad very clearly suggests that the absolute truth is ultimately the absolute person. Otherwise, there would have been no need to mention so many details in support of his personal features.
Someone else?
Although the individual parts and parcels of the Lord's potencies have all symptoms of the Lord himself, they have limited spheres of activity and are therefore all limited. The parts and parcels are never equal to the whole, therefore they cannot appreciate the Lord's full potency. Under the influence of material nature, foolish and ignorant living beings, who are but parts and parcels of the Lord, try to conjecture about the Lord's transcendental position. Sri Ishopanishad warns of the futility of trying to establish the identity of the Lord through through mental speculation. One should try to learn of the transcendence from the Lord himself, the supreme source of the Vedas, for the Lord alone has full knowledge of the transcendence.
Every part and parcel of the complete whole is endowed with some particular energy to act according to the Lord's will. When the part and parcel living entity forgets his particular activities under the Lord's will, he is considered to be in Maya, illusion. Thus, from the very beginning, Sri Isopnisad wants us to be very careful to play the part designated for us by the Lord. This does not mean that the individual soul has no initiative of his own, because, oh my God, I lost the screen.
Oh.
Prabhu, okay. In it, a person properly utilizes his initiative or active nature with intelligence, understanding, and everything in the Lord's that everything is the Lord's potency. He can revive his original consciousness, which was lost due to association with Maya, the external energy.
All power is obtained from the Lord. Therefore, each particular power must be utilized to execute the will of the Lord and not otherwise. The Lord can be known by one who has adopted such a submissive service attitude. Perfect knowledge means knowing the Lord in all his features, knowing his potencies, and knowing how these potencies work by his will. These matters are described by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita, the essence of all the Upanishads.
The person is swifter than the mind and can overcome all others running. The powerful demigods cannot approach him, although in one place he controls those who supply the air and rain. He surpasses all in excellence. So far we talked about how the Lord is perfect and complete, and his way of life set for every living entity. We all have a quota. And we read about what the destination of one who does not live, who determinedly does not want to live according to the Lord's Isopnisad principle. And that even for those who make a small effort toward approaching God, there's no loss but all gain. And because the Lord is Bhavagrahi Janardana, he picks up the attitude, the love, the feeling of the devotee. That's what the Lord takes into consideration. And he sees that this person is making a little effort towards me, and so he reciprocates accordingly. And now we're going to look at the Lord's inconceivable nature. It appears to be contradictory, but that is only due to mundane conception or incomplete knowledge of the complete whole, because the Lord, all contradictions find their resting place in the Lord. There's some saying, I forget what it is. All contradictions reside in the Lord, or they find their final rest in the Lord. But here we're talking about God's position. It is inconceivable, and God is greater than and cannot be equaled by anyone. He's called Asamurdva. A means none, Sama means equal, and Urdhva means greater. No one is equal to or greater than God. Asamurdva. There's no one. There's maybe people who claim that they are as good as God, but it's all lip service. There's no proof. We have so much proof in Krishna's position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even from his birth, he had displayed super extraordinary human strength, potencies, and opulence that cannot be equaled by anyone. And Krishna himself says in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 7th chapter, text 7, Mata para taram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya. Maya sarvamidam protam sutre mani kana eva. There's no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. And that thread that is holding everything up is practically invisible, but yet it's there and it's stronger than anything. It's full of potencies. And here, Anijad ekam manaso jabio, although the Lord is swifter than the mind and can overcome all his running, he's also fixed in his own abode. He's in one place, yet he's everywhere. It seemed contradictory, but Prabhupada gives the example of the sun. We see the sun fixed in the sky in one place, and however fast we may run, the sun is already there. So the sun is considered swifter than us. This is a material comparison, but it gives us an idea of how swift Krishna is. Krishna is faster than anything because spirit is faster than matter. And Krishna is already present in every place. So in that way, he's also swifter. Wherever you go, however fast you may go, Krishna is already there. And even materially, if we want to look at how fast vehicles may go, if you take an airplane, say to India, it takes hours. And even if you go on the fastest recorded vehicle, a supersonic jet, you can go up to, I believe it's like 2,190 miles per hour. And they're, of course, trying to beat that record. But that materially, so far, that's about how fast we've gone here. And then mentally, say you want to go to India, you can think of a place and you're there. Practically a few seconds take you to, as long as it takes you to think of the place you want to go, then you're there. And even subtler than the mind, which is part of the subtle body, mind, intelligence, and false ego, is even more subtle or finer yet, as Prabhupada says, is the spirit soul. And the spirit soul travels faster than the subtle body, faster than the gross body. Prabhupada says that, say you're qualified to go back to Godhead, back to Goloka Vrindavan, then immediately upon leaving your body, you're there. So this is how fast the spirit soul goes. And that's like seconds also. And Krishna is the fastest. And but in order to go there, of course, to the spiritual world, one must qualify. As Srinivasacharya gave class the other day on Janma Karma Chime Divyam Evamyo Veti Tatvataha Chaktva Deham Punarjanma Naiti Mameti Sorjuna. So one who understands the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving this body, take its birth again in this material world. And as we just read we were reading the Isopnisad mantras, it crossed my mind how mantra 14 is just like this verse, Janma Karma Chime Divyam. One should know perfectly the personality of Godhead and his transcendental name, as well as the temporary material creation with its temporary demigods, men, and animals. When one knows these, he surpasses death and the ephemeral cosmic manifestation with it. And in the eternal kingdom of God, he enjoys his eternal life of bliss and knowledge. It's the same thing. When one perfectly knows the personality of God, and of course, there has to be some qualification there. We have to know that Krishna is divya, divine, divyam. He's transcendental, not like our material body. His body can angani yasya sakalendriya vritimanti. With any of his senses, he can perform any of the activities of any other sense that the body performs. He can eat with his eyes. He can see with his ears. He can, whatever you could imagine, he could do it with any of his senses. His body is not a product of this material world like ours. If one were to think that his body is limited like ours, then this type of thinking is condemned in the Bhagavad Gita, Avajananti Mamudha considered fools when one thinks Krishna's body is a product of this material world like ours, and that he is limited like we are. If we put ourselves on the same level as Krishna, then we are considered less intelligent, fools, rascals, and our destination is not too bright. No one can be on the level of Krishna. As Prabhupada has says, we have so much evidence in the Krishna book of Krishna's activities, from his birth, his childhood, killing demons and lifting Govardhan Hill. He defied gravity by lifting Govardhan Hill. So many activities. And besides his activities, being fixed in his abode, Prabhupada says that, yes, he's fixed in his abode, and yet so much is going on in all over the universes. And Krishna actually has nothing to do by himself except for enjoy. It's by his potencies and energies that everything is going on in all the universes. He's fixed in Goloka Vrindavan, as it says in the Brahma Samhita, and Prabhupada quotes it here, or he mentions it here. Goloka even nivasati akilat mabuto. That's the verse Prabhupada's referring to here, where Krishna is fixed in his own abode. Didn't he mention it here? And he personally doesn't have to do anything himself. He has so many expansions, energies, incarnations, empowered representatives to carry on all these activities. And Prabhupada gives the example of just like a rich man, a very rich man here, he actually doesn't have to do any work himself. He's so rich that he can just do the brain work behind and employ so many people to carry out his work for him. And he can just simply, if he wants to work, he can. And if he doesn't want to, he doesn't have to. In the same way, a similar way, Krishna is in Goloka Vrindavan, enjoying with the cowherd boys, cowherd girls, and just enjoying with Radharani. Prabhupada says, that's all, that's God, simply enjoying. And this is the one that he was quoting here that I was thinking of. Yeah. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavita Vistabir Eva Nijarupa Taya Kalabi Kaloka Eva Nivasatya Kilatma Bhuto Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Bachami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, residing in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha, resembling his own spiritual figure, the embodiment of ecstatic potency, possessed of the 64 artistic activities. In the company of her confident Sakis, embodiments of the extensions of her bodily form, permeated and vitalized by his ever blissful spiritual rasa. So this is God, this is Krishna. He can simply enjoy. He's the supreme enjoyer. Everyone else has to work. And then, although he's fixed in that abode, everything is carried on nicely just by his will, just by his desire, just by thinking, like in the Bible, let there be light, and there's light. Let there be creation, and there's creation. His desire is fact. His will is absolute. It's what there is. And he has so many energies to carry these out. Excuse me. We may have so many desires, but we're not always able to carry out our desires. Sometimes they may be fulfilled and sometimes not. And it's not us who usually fulfill our desires. I mean, it never is. It's Krishna who fulfills all desires. But when we're reading these verses, there are a few here now. I think mantra 4, 5, maybe even 6. They may seem a little contradictory in nature, but in this way, we have to accept that God is inconceivable. He may appear to be contradictory in what we read here, but that's due to our limited understanding, or like I said before, incomplete knowledge of the complete whole. But that's part of the nature of God. He's beyond our reasoning. Our reasoning, our mind, like the speculators, can go only so far. And Krishna is beyond the reach, it says here, of the mental speculators and the yogis, however hard or however fast they can go with their mental power. He's still beyond their reach. But when one qualifies oneself by the process of devotional service, it can be very easy. Krishna can reveal himself to that devotee. Prabhupada said that not just anyone can see the Lord. One has to qualify himself. He said, and Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Naham prakasha sarvasya, I'm not manifest to everyone, especially the non-believers or the atheists or the Mayavadis, who they don't have the qualification. One actually has to have divine vision given by the Lord. The Lord reveals himself within the heart of the devotee, like he did with Lord Brahma when he was pleased with his tapa, his tapasya. Or when the Lord sees that one is endeavoring to go towards him, then he takes, like we take one step toward Krishna and Krishna takes 10 towards us. When we qualify ourselves through the process of devotional service, we purify our situation, our mental situation, we dissolve our identifications with this material body through the process of devotional service, like the verse Atashi Krishna Tashi Krishna Namadi Nabhaved Graim Indriyai Sevan Mukehi Jivado Swayam Eva Sparatya Da. This is how one qualifies for the Lord to reveal himself to them. When one understands Krishna without the use of his blunt material senses, but when one understands Krishna through the process of devotional service, through revelation, this is how Krishna reveals his divine name, qualities, form, and pastimes.
And Mataji, there is a Brahma Samhita verse, Preman Janachurita Bhakti Vilochanena Sandas Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokanti also.
Love, yes. When one's eyes are tinged with the salve of love, then he can see the Lord. But it's all on Krishna's side. Like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that we should not try to see God, but we should try to qualify ourselves that God would want to see us. You know, so it's on Krishna's part. We try to rid ourselves from these upadis, these designations, and try to purify ourselves to qualify for Krishna to want to see us. And then it's like what they say, the ball is in his court. It's up to Krishna if he wants to reveal himself. But Krishna gives us hints. Krishna gives us ideas of how and what we can do on our part. In Bhagavad Gita 18:55, one can understand me as I am, as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Bhaktyamam abhijananti nabhaved graim indriyai sevan mukehi jivado swayameva sparatyada. I think the last part I said that was wrong. Bhaktyamam abhijananti yavanyas chasmi tatpata tato mam tatpato gyatva ishte taranantaram. Here also that tatpataha, knowing me in truth, one who can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that tatpataha, that truth. The same as the Janma Karma Chami Divyam Evam Yo Viti Tattvataha, know me in truth. I think it's that the difference of jnana and vijnana comes into play here. because jnana is theoretical knowledge. It's like book knowledge. And Prabhupada says that book knowledge of the absolute truth is useless. But it's realization that we must strive for. That's vijnana, realized knowledge. And that means practical application. We're able to act on it and apply it in our life when it's vijnana. And when we realize the nature of Krishna with our purified senses, then we'll be able to intensify our desire to associate with Krishna in pure devotion. And that is actually the qualification that's mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita for obtaining Krishna. It's greed, intense greed, that lolyam. And I was thinking about how the three gates to hell, one of them is greed also, but it's a different type of greed. That greed is for material acquisitions. And the type of greed for Krishna is spiritual. It's Prabhupada says we have to become mad after Krishna. That greed has to become so intense that we're consumed by it. And it's out of love. It's you want to be with Krishna, you want to serve Krishna, you want to please Krishna. And that's the difference between love and lust. We want to please Krishna's senses. Lust, we want to please, satisfy our own senses. But once we're greedy or we have this loyum for Krishna, we'll always be looking for Krishna. Where is Krishna? That's the mood of the gopis. Where is Krishna? How can I satisfy Krishna? And Prabhupada says that if our loyam or our intense, our greed for Krishna or our desire to approach Krishna, is enhanced by 1%, then Krishna will turn towards us 10%. We take that one step, Krishna takes a step to us. But it's not so easy to attain that lolyam. It's like in the Bible, it says you can't have serve two masters. We have to, we can't think that we can try to enjoy materially, our material senses, and at the same time, go back to Godhead. Prabhupada says we can't have a pinch of desire. We have to try to focus on our spiritual desires and feed them through association with devotees by hearing and chanting together. And Krishna will help us. It's not easy. We are all in this material body, and we've been conditioned to try to satisfy these senses ever since we're young. It's been enforced, but by constant practice and some detachment, someday it'll happen. Once we're freed from all this material contamination, then we'll be able to realize God. Prabhupada said, the more purified we become, the more we will realize God. And at that point, I want to know if there's any questions before I look at the purport again and see what I didn't cover. Any questions thus far?
Mati, even the 6 Goswami, they search for Krishna and Radha always. Hey Radhe, Rajadevike Chalalite. How come they come to the mood, even though they had access almost to see Krishna? I mean, they're always hankering for us. What's Mati?
They were always absorbed in the mood of the gopis, like you were saying. They cast off all rich aristocracy and lived a very austere life, absorbed in hearing and chanting. They were mad after Krishna, sleeping under a different tree every night. They would forget to eat and sleep. They were internally absorbed. What was your question?
No, like I think Sanatana Goswami or somebody, Radha Rani herself delivers a pot of kheer and Gopal Bhatta Goswami has seen almost Radharaman in the form of Ishila that transferred to Radharaman. They had so much association, but still, they crave every day. That mood, is the longing mood. So it's serving in absence is better than serving in person.
Yeah, Vipralamba. Vipralamba. The mood of the gopis. It's a Lord Chaitanya's mood. And we are to aspire for. Not that I have seen Krishna, not that I know Krishna, but where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? That is what we aspire for. I'm trying to think of that verse. Yeah, and everything is based on desire. If you look at that picture in the Bhagavad Gita, you have the tree that's turned upside down, and then the tree is up and the reflection is down. That's the material world and the spiritual, the heavenly planets, and then the spiritual world. You see Goloka, and in between there's a lake, and you know what it says in that lake? Desire. So the material desire keeps us in the material world, and the spiritual desire will take us to the spiritual world. The greed for matter takes us down. The greed for Krishna, the spiritual, will take us up. We just have to transform that greed, that lust, all those qualities. We have to Krishnaize them. Any comments or questions?
Talking about that tree, Jiva, we are reading it in the morning, the Purushottam Adhyaya, and it says that the tree extends unlimitedly, that we cannot even see, and we need to cut it down. What do they mean by what is it that extending unlimitedly, and how how can we cut it? I don't understand what the analogy is there.
Oh, I just thought of what entangled webs we weave when at first we do deceive. It's the branches are going and entangling everywhere. It can be unlimited. This desire leads to that, to this leads to that, karma. It's like this leads to that. It can extend forever and ever, it seems.
But is it like, nothing in the material world is unlimited, only the spiritual world is unlimited. So that's why I'm confused why they call it like, unlimitedly.
But it seems just like it seems like he's forever in hell, but we don't believe in eternal damnation. There's always a chance to uplift oneself, but it may seem like forever just because the duration is so long. So seems
right.
like, but it's not eternal.
Yeah, even our fall down into the material world, we don't know when we fell down. It seems unlimitedly long time ago. Yeah, in a sense.
Because it's untraceable for us.
But they're not. But that tree is still material, right?
Yes. And you know what you cut it down with? The acts of
devotional.
The acts of knowledge.
Act of knowledge, yeah.
Yeah, if you understand that tree, you're able to cut it down.
But with what?
But like I said, there's a difference between jnana and vijnana. Vijnana is like wisdom. It's realized knowledge. Prabhupada said it's practical knowledge. You can act on it. So we have to practically realize Krishna's divine nature. It can't be theoretical. Theoretical knowledge isn't going to do it for us. It's not going to get us there. It has to become realized. Just like when we chant japa, when it's not supposed to be lip deep, right? It's supposed to be heart deep. You're supposed to take it deeper. The same with understanding Krishna, about Krishna's activities, his pastimes. It has to become deeper. It has to become a meditation. It has to become, the love has to be uncovered, and for us to grasp onto it and really understand it. I've been thinking about that verse about one who understands the nature of my divine activities and does not the material world. That it can't be theoretical, because why would we have to undergo all these other processes for purification? Why is it not so easily obtainable, unless one has intense greed? And it, like that verse 14, It's not just
I mean, hence, I guess, the science of self-realization, you know.
One has to know perfectly the personality of Godhead. You know, that it has to be vijnana. It has to be deeper than just theoretical knowledge. We have to understand it. It has to come from revelation, you know, realized knowledge. Like Lord Brahma, he didn't know what to do. He wasn't able to act until he got the revelation in his heart.
Yeah.
When that awakening happens, then it'll be pure. Then our chanting will be pure. Then our meditation will be pure. Then we'll purely understand Krishna's divine activities and be able to enter into them. I mean, that's my understanding, because he says book knowledge without realization of the absolute truth is useless. And so if we theoretically understand Krishna's divine nature, how can we go back to Godhead? It's just like anybody reading it. Oh, I understand that. You know, makes sense. But I think it has to be more realize, you know.
Yeah, I've always been a little baffled by that verse also.
Yeah. Vijnana. Divine revelation. And it comes from that perseverance in practice. That's that Brahma Samhita verse. It's so nice. Premanas charas. Premanas tat sadacharyas tadapyase nirantaram borayanat manatmanam bhaktimapi uttamam labet. That's the verse where Krishna is speaking to Lord Brahma, telling him the highest devotion is attained by slow degrees, by the method of constant endeavor for self-realization with the help of scriptural evidence, theistic conduct, and perseverance in practice. That perseverance in practice is a big one, right? Like Mother Yashoda, we're getting close to that month. Good time to meditate on the Mother Yashoda not giving up. And how she was able to capture Krishna, and even these great yogis and jnanis, they cannot reach, even though they're able to go so far with their mental speculation, they're not able to go far enough. Or even if they do reach the Brahmajyoti, there's always the chance of falling down. They still can fall down. You know, they go so far, but still there is some desire remaining in the heart that they fall down. But if we engage in the process of bhakti, it dissolves. You know, Nectar Devotion talks about how it dissolves those desire seeds, you know, not just the reactions to past sinful activities, but that even the desire seeds. So we will lose the desire to engage in further material activities if we continue in this process. So that's the idea, perseverance in practice. We continue this process. It'll happen just like chanting japa. You know, the way to get over our offenses is by continuing to chant. One day, by accident, we'll chant purely or something, you know. It'll happen if we just continue waiting for that. When will that day be mine, offenses ceasing, taste for the holy name increasing? When in my heart will your mercy shine? When will that day be mine? Kabe habe bolo se dina amar. Beautiful song, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It's not a book.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that in all humility. You know?
Of course, of course. There's one really nice song where he describes what it's like to chant purely. I'll have to show you that sometime. It's astonishing. It's like he's possessed, you know. Anyway, that was mantra 4. We covered 1, 2, 3, and 4 thus far.
Mataji, I have one question, Mataji.
Yeah.
Mataji, regarding Vairagya, that is renouncement. Like when you want to become more renouncent, we have to increase our bhakti process, then only we'll become renouncent, or first we need to be renounced, then only the bhakti process will come. Like
Prabhupada said that renunciation is the result of pure emotion. So we aren't looking for artificial renunciation. We're looking for automatic renunciation through a higher taste. By developing a higher taste, one automatically loses the taste for lower things.
Right. Okay.
You know, become attached to, we look at the positive. You become attached to Krishna and you automatically become detached from non-Krishna.
Non-Krishna. Yes. Yes,
You know,
Mataji.
we focus on the positive.
Right. Thank you, Mataji.
We try to focus on the positive, I should say.
And we have proof of that with Srila Prabhupada, you know, and his
Exactly.
disciples. Yeah, total proof of that.
Yeah, that's the process. Yeah.
Can I ask a question, Mother Jiva?
He knew how great and wonderful Krishna was, and you know, he experienced that, and because of his divine experience, it like bubbled over into the devotees. They could feel that through him, his genuine experience of Krishna, that they wanted it. You know, makes the devotees want it. Go ahead.
So two questions. First is kind of a little bit maybe silly, but still for my clarification. So in the class you mentioned that no, when our desires are fulfilled, it's not us. Krishna is fulfilling our desire. So if that is true, the clarification is, let's say if I say that I have a strong desire right now to eat ice cream, or I have a strong desire to right now drive a Mustang car. So is it me who is having that desire, or Paramatma in my heart is having that desire? So or it's like material things.
You have the desire, but he's the fulfiller of desires.
Mm.
You have a misdirected desire.
Mm. 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 All right, thank you.
You know, it may be, you know, if it's prashadam, it's a good desire.
Yes.
But that's the way. Super soul, he directs the wanderings of the living entities.
Okay.
Helps them to fulfill their desires.
And the second question I had was regarding the greed you mentioned, the laulium. So you had said that no, the intense greed for Krishna, but in a struggling to become a devotee or a neophyte stage, I don't see myself having that laulium. But what are hope for a neophyte devotees like me who doesn't have any good qualities or doesn't have greed? What lower levels of greed is still fine to continue on devotional service?
The desire to continue on devotional service. That's some greed, right? I want to service. I want more service.
And also associating with devotees who have the greed, won't it help, Mataji?
Yes, of course. Like a disease, you catch the disease. But also any little desire we have in Krishna consciousness is good to keep us on the path. There's no loss or diminution, you know, even if you wish you had it, that's good. Even if you don't have it, but you wish you had it, that's also good. There's a verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, did I say it already? It said that this loyam is difficult to obtain. It says, pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness cannot be had even by pious activity in hundreds and thousands of lives. It can be attained only by paying one price, that is, intense greed to obtain it. If it is available somewhere, one must purchase it without delay. It's not easy to obtain. But like what she said, associate with someone who had it, like the devotees they associated with Prabhupada, who was intensely pure and had that lauliam for Krishna. So by having Prabhupada's association, I remember in California, actually the first time I saw Prabhupada in person, other than a dream, and in his books, I was overcome with a desire to serve him. It was really intense, and I'm just relating, maybe that's like a reflection of being in the presence of someone who has this spiritual potency, that it reflects over and you feel this, this spiritual nature. And I just really wish that I could do anything for him.
I mean, isn't that shown when he was here on the planet, his disciples felt they could do just about anything?
Right.
You know, but when he left the planet, they didn't feel that same intensity and same feeling, and many of them kind of, didn't have that powerful energy around them.
But Prabhupada, because of his exalted position, he felt that in the absence of his spiritual master. He said that he always felt the presence of his spiritual master, because
He did, yes.
Yes, his spiritual realization was so developed, that he was always in touch with his Guru Maharaj, because he was always acting on his order, and he was on
He
Uttama
said,
Adhi.
never don't feel the presence of my spiritual master. Yeah.
Right. So, and that comes with maturity and devotional service, He is the most mature.
But what I'm saying is some disciples stayed purely by his energy around them,
Right. Right.
Thank you, Mataji.
I don't know if I answered your question, but
Oh, yes, you did. Absolutely, you did. Thank you.
just the fact that one continues, is a sign that there is some desire to obtain the goal, and like Rupa Goswami says, patience, determination, enthusiasm, conviction, these all assure success on the path of devotional service. Utsahan Nischayad Daryat, that verse. But we have to be patient. We've had so many lives of conditioning. It's not going to happen overnight. I mean, it could if we surrender. It could take one moment, but generally it takes some time. And it doesn't matter, whatever progress we make, we'll continue in our next life.
But what Malti Priya said was an important point, right? Being around those who have that laulium and greed is a very important feature.
Yes. Yes, association is 99% of our spiritual advancement comes from association.
I've seen that practically in my life.
Yeah. Where would we be without association? We'd be lost. It's hard to do, a bunch is, stronger, a bundle is stronger. And you take a stick out from a bunch, you can break it easily. But if it's in a bunch, you can't break the bunch so easy. It's stronger. That makes sense?
Yeah, the moment you leave Krishna conscious association, your enthusiasm immediately goes down,
Yeah.
But the moment you stay in Krishna conscious association, your enthusiasm and increases.
We see how other devotees are chanting. It inspires us to try to chant better. We see all the service they're doing. It makes us inspired to try to do something ourselves. These devotees, they're doing getting up early and chanting japa. It's so nice, and inviting everyone to come and join them on Zoom. It's really nice, and then devotees are going over and working hard at the temple. It makes you feel, I should go and do something too. And then when you're with the devotees, they talk about Krishna, or they're hearing bhajans. That's also inspiring when you hear the kirtans and the bhajans. And it's like the cup is full of Krishna. There's no room for Maya to fit in there. But yes, thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yes.
Mataji, I have one question. Mataji, you mentioned about that knowledge without revelation is bookish in nature. So for Brahma also, he had a revelation. So what does that revelation means for us? What exactly is the revelation for us?
Krishna from within gives realizations. When we're able to act on what we hear, when it becomes practical knowledge, I was repeating what Prabhupada said in the purport to chapter 6, text 30 maybe. No. Chapter 6, text. But he says, book knowledge without realization of the supreme truth is useless. It's a really nice purport. What text was it? I have it here somewhere. I wrote down the text. Sorry. Yeah, that's in chapter 6, text 8, purport. He says, oh, it was right in it. Eyes are blurry. Book knowledge without realization of the supreme truth is useless, as stated as follows. No one can understand the transcendental nature of the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of Sri Krishna through his materially contaminated senses. Only when one becomes spiritually saturated by transcendental service to the Lord are the transcendental name, form, quality, and pastimes of the Lord revealed to him. So it's through revelation. That's realized knowledge. So book knowledge is, he says, is useless without realization. So the point of all this knowledge is for us to realize it, to take it to heart, as they say, to take it to heart, to own it, to be able to act on it, to, how else to explain it? This Bhagavad Gita is a science of Krishna consciousness. No one can become Krishna conscious simply by mundane scholarship. One must be fortunate enough to associate with a person who is in pure consciousness. A Krishna conscious person has realized knowledge by the grace of Krishna because he is satisfied with pure devotional service. By realized knowledge, one becomes perfect. By transcendental knowledge, one can remain steady in his convictions. But by mere academic knowledge, one can be easily deluded and confused by apparent contradictions. It is the realized soul who is actually self-controlled because he is surrendered to Krishna. He is transcendental because he has nothing to do with mundane scholarship. For him, mundane scholarship and mental speculation, which may be as good as gold to others, are of no greater value than pebbles or stones. See, he's steady in his convictions. He's satisfied with pure devotional service. Just his engagement in devotional service causes Krishna to reveal within everything he needs to know. Like for Lord Brahma. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. Brahma was confused, where did I come from? Where's the source of this? He climbed down, he didn't see anything, so he went back up and meditated, and he heard tapa for so many thousands of celestial years. And then it was revealed. Krishna revealed to him this whole spiritual world. And then he composed the Brahma Samhita. And then he understood what to do, his duty, his role in the whole creation. And so in the same way, we are meant to do our tapa, our penance and austerity given to us from our Guru Maharaj. In this process of devotional service, engage ourselves, our body, mind, words, everything at our disposal, engage in the service of the Lord. And Krishna from within will reveal to us our position in creation. Like it says in the Isopnisad, we're meant to understand, at the end of the purport or near it, every part of the complete whole is endowed with some particular energy to act. When that part forgets his particular activities, he is considered to be in Maya or illusion. Okay, but it says, because he is part of the Lord, he must partake of the initiative of the Lord as well. When one properly utilizes his initiative or active nature with intelligence, understanding that everything is in the Lord's potency, he can revive his original consciousness, which was lost due to association with Maya. But the Lord reveals who we are, our relationship to him, and what we are meant to do in that relationship. And it all comes from within. Just like with chanting. Chanting purifies the heart of all contamination. And after the heart is purified, everything is revealed from within. Everything will be clear at that time.
Okay, Mataji.
I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah, but Mother, sometimes, right, there are thoughts which are coming from the mind or intelligence or the soul or Paramatma, right? And if they are from Paramatma, right, we take the reference, are they in line with Sadhu, Shastra or Guru? We figure it out. But when they are overpowered by mind or intelligence, right, we we may not know those are the revelations, correct revelations, or we just go with the flow. And sometimes the mind is so strong that we think, so how do we figure that out? Means, is it the revelation from Paramatma or is it from mind or intelligence? So suppose if you have to take a decision in life, something, right, and means there are two options and both of them just look altogether right.
I've heard before a couple of things. Ask 3 Brahmins when you're confused and you don't know, where's
Okay.
ask 3 Brahmins, see what they say. And one time, this was in Vrindavan, Prabhupada was, the devotees were confused about something and he told them to take it to Lord Balaram. Ask Lord Balaram, he'll solve all your problems. So Burijan, he was there in Vrindavan and some devotees were visiting from Iran or something. And they were a lot of them were from Muslim backgrounds. And this one woman, she had a hard time with accepting the deities. And she asked him, and he was trying to explain, what the deities and why we worship them and giving the quotes and everything. And she couldn't accept it. It was just so deeply ingrained with her and her upbringing that it was idol worship or whatever the Muslims think, I don't know. So she couldn't accept it. And then he remembered what Prabhupada said about asking Lord Balaram. And so he told her to go out and talk to Lord Balaram, ask him to reveal to you about deity worship. And so she did. She went out and she stayed there at least half an hour in front of Lord Balaram, contemplating and asking and praying and really trying to understand it, because she liked the philosophy and she liked the devotees and everything. And lo and behold, after half an hour, she came back to Burijan and said, it worked. And
Okay.
she accepted deity worship. And so at those times, pray to the Lord to make it clear. Sometimes we can't understand, and oftentimes it is our mind telling us, because we're so used to listening to our mind that it's hard to decipher where things are coming from, except when it's from Shastra and devotees and like that. So we could pray to the Lord. Please make it clear.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah.
Try asking 3 Brahmins.
Okay. Absolutely, Mataji.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Good luck. Thank you. I guess we better end. It's getting late. I'm sorry, keeping you over. Vanchakalpatrivascha, Kripasindu, Vyevacha, Patinam,
Thank you very much, Mother Jiva.
Thank you for joining. What?
Shruti Mataji ki jai.
Sorry. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Very nice class. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Hari Bol.
Now we're gonna do Gilam.
You're gonna do Gita? Okay. Oh, I see. Hari Bol.
You can see me because my video's turned on.
You doing RT now?
Yes.
Okay.
Mangal Aarti.
No?
Night Aarti. Mangal Aarti will be morning.
Night Aarti.
Okay. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Hari Bol, Mataji. Very nice.
Hari Bol.